Okay. Hello and welcome to NAFA's June edition of the Advisor Ambassador Program. My name is Zach Hewells and I work in the Membership and Marketing Department at the NAFA Home Office. We have a great speaker for you today, Jeff Hill. Jeff is quite the active member of NAFA. In fact, he was actually in DC last month for our congressional conference. Today, Jeff will be presenting Learn Exceptional Prospecting Practices. And if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them into the chat feature on Zoom, or if you'd like, you can ask them at the end. And without further ado, I'll let Jeff take it from here.
All righty. Hey, guys. Like he said, my name is Jeffrey Hill, Little Rock, Arkansas. And again, my goal is to just teach you guys some prospecting tips and methods that I've been able to use over the last 10 years. And what is prospecting, people might ask? It's your ability to gain new clients that I learned coming to business, love your business. Well, think about your body. It cannot operate without blood, right? So your business cannot operate without new prospects, not successfully at least. You can maybe come in and have a little, some decent success, but over time, you always want to be adding in new clients. One of the things I was taught when I first joined the business is the rule of 500. And I guess within your first 3 to 5 years, you want to get at least 500 new clients. The reason being is most people are going to make 7 buying decisions from you over the lifetime of you being their agent. So if you think 500 times 7 buying decisions, that's 3,500 different decisions. So if you're thinking about writing 100 policies a year, that's a 35-year career, which is the average career for most people. So again, just think about it like a full contact sport. You want to get engaged in this process, and you want to get to the point where you are starting to prospect like you breathe. So don't think about it as, man, I got to go out and prospect today. Just prospect while you're out. I'm going to teach you a few tips to make the prospecting style conversational. So here's our overview for today. I'm going to give you guys a little bit about my background. We're going to talk about different prospecting methods. And the reason why I labeled those is because I've done them. When I came into the business, I knew prospecting was important because I was no stranger to sales. So I wanted the opportunity to experience different levels of building my business. So if I ever got to the point where maybe I wasn't getting as many referrals as I wanted to, I could always just go canvas. So I'll break that stuff down and show you how I play within those different realms. I'm going to teach you guys probably one of the most powerful things that I've ever learned, which is my referral script. And I've taught this thing consistently over the last 10 years. I'm going to show you guys how I got over 2,000 clients within 2,000 referrals within my first year in business. And I'm going to teach you guys how I master networking events. And then we'll finish up with some social selling. So here's my background. Currently, I'm in the top 100 in finance. Again, that was a magazine. They did a full page spread on me and 99 other people who are in finance in the United States. I've been NAFA Agent of the Year. I've been Distinguished Agent of the Year here in Arkansas. When I was in New York Life, I racked up a host of awards. And even as an independent agent, I've been able to get a lot of awards. So I do have an award-winning financial services plan. So I want to talk a little bit about my story. I came from very humble beginnings in a household of 8. It's about 1,200 square foot home. So it wasn't big, and finance and insurance products was definitely not talked about in my family. I lost a sister to a rare lung cancer back in 2003. And again, I remember having to listen to my mother make those phone calls to borrow money to bury my sister. And my sister was, she was my rock. She taught me a lot about life and spirituality. So it was a hard hitting thing, a person to lose. And it was at that point, it was weird to me. We had to borrow money. I remember seeing people at the gas stations that had little jars up there, and we didn't have to go that far, but we still had to call and ask family members to help out with the funeral. It wasn't until 7 years late, until I became an agent, that we first had that conversation about life insurance in my household. And I remember asking my mother, like, why don't we have life insurance? And she said, well, I don't know. And I'm thinking, you've buried a child. How can you not have an answer for that? So it really blew my mind. So I was definitely called to this industry. I came from a corporate America background. I was with a Fortune 500 company called Centos, the uniform company, grunt work. I knew I was worth more money, more everything, and I wanted to leave. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And around that time, I was getting my MBA. So I started to think more business-minded ideas, but I just didn't know what. And lo and behold, New York Life recruited me. And again, I love the platform. And I said, you know what? I think this is something I wanted to do. Now, because I was no stranger to sales, I understood the value of dealing with people that you did not know. And again, because my job with Centos had me driving at least an hour or more away from where I lived, my natural flow of people were in that community. And I didn't want to keep driving an hour and a half to get a signature or to get an initial on the application. Because again, there was no e-apps back then. So I gave myself a 30-day challenge. And I said within the first 30 days, I wanted to start to work with people that I did not know. Here's why. I looked at it like this. I remember when I was talking to people saying, hey, listen, I'm getting ready to transition to selling insurance and financial services. And a lot of people that I did not realize had done insurance before. Like, oh, yeah, I did that. I was with Aflac, or I did this or whatever. I was real good for about 6 months to a year. And then I ran out of all my friends and family to sell, and I didn't have anybody else to talk to. And I'm like, man, I don't want that to be me. My number one goal when I came into this industry was to never fire myself. Because again, I knew ethics and compliance wasn't the thing I had to worry about. Because again, I'm going to do the right thing, but I did not want to fire myself because I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I knew I had to work with people that I did not know, because my friends and family should always be there. I should always be able to call on them and sit down and have an appointment with them. But again, if I met you as a stranger and I was able to show you the value of what I do and you became a client, I knew I had my hands on a lifelong career. Now, one of the things New York Life taught me was the 2-a-day philosophy. A guy named Tim Fitzgerald. This is how you win the day. You need to book 2 appointments every day for some time in the future. Some of you guys might remember a guy named Taylor Sledge. He was top NAFA 40 under 40. And again, he was one of my mentors. And I remember him having a conversation with me. He said, Jeff, listen, if you just focus on booking 2 appointments a day, every day for some time in the future, by the 5th year in this business, you'll hit 6 figures. And it held true. Now, some of you guys might have done it in your first year. In Arkansas, no, I didn't do that my first year. Again, I was on that pace of about 5 years into it. But again, I just made it simple. 2 appointments a day for some time in the future. Now, NAFA, okay, guys, first of all, congratulations on being on this webinar today. NAFA has been a tremendous asset to my business. You might have seen my face on the NAFA.org website. If you haven't, maybe you haven't spent enough time on there, because again, my little banner pops up because I was a very early adopter of NAFA. Within my first few months in the business, I joined. I didn't mind paying the membership because I knew I was going to get value out of it. But I also looked at it like this. If I'm willing to put myself out there and get involved in organizations that spoke to the industry, I was more serious about what I had my hands on. So I don't mind paying the fee for the membership because I've gotten more value out of it. So eventually, after about 5.5 years with New York Life, I transitioned to the independent. No, I think it was 6.5 years. I transitioned to the independent model. I just got bigger than the New York Life system. I saw an opportunity for me to go ahead and start to incorporate more technology into my practice, more training, and I got to do more for what I wanted to do for my clients than just what they said. Now, let me kind of go back and give NAFA another plug, because I want you guys to understand this. It is highly worth it to pay the money for NAFA, okay? NAFA does if you have not spent time on the website, go do it. There's so much stuff out there, from managing your practice to prospecting to selling systems. There's so many discounts you get through your NAFA membership. Some of this stuff you're probably already using or spending your own money for, and you just didn't realize you can get a discount for it. So do not skimp on using your membership. Now, again, attend the conferences. One of the things that I was quoted on the website is I used to use the NAFA podcast series, and it was typically a lady going around to all these conferences, and they were interviewing a lot of the top producers, and they were getting their best kept secrets. Again, how did you get to $1 million round table? How do you get to quarter table or top of the table? So I started listening to people who had what I wanted. They had the success in this career. So anytime you have a mentor, if you start to follow them, you're going to have the same level or a similar level of success. So I just started listening to the same ones over and over and over and over and over. And I started adopting that posture. Posture is another word for confidence. Because again, if you've ever been in this industry any amount of time, there might have been a time you had a little doubt. Am I doing the right thing for my client? Do they really need this? Again, you get that confidence by hanging around people at these conferences who have lifelong careers. These guys are not afraid to share their knowledge. And again, think about what I did. I started this rhythm of that nearly 10 years ago, and now I'm one of those people who are giving back to you, okay? So again, NAFA has allowed me to get a lot of mentors, a lot of networking, and now I'm able to give back because people gave to me when I was early in my career. So here's a few prospecting methods. Canvassing. Now, canvassing is typically when you just maybe pull up to a shopping center or an industrial park or something like that with businesses, and your aim is to go in there and introduce yourself to the business owner. Now, a lot of times you might face a business that has the no solicitation signs on there. I never really let that stop me because I wasn't soliciting. I wasn't going in there trying to get them to buy anything. I did something called the mailing list approach. So I would go to a business owner, and let's say Zach was the business. Well, he was the business owner. I would go in there and say, hey, listen, is the owner here? If Zach was the first person I spoke to, he might say, yes, I'm the owner. Awesome. Hey, listen, man, I'm a local business owner, just like you. And from time to time, I like to get out into the community and meet other business owners. One of the things that I do is I put together professional mailing lists to other business owners, teaching them concepts like, and again, I might give a few hot buttons that I know business owners might want, like how to pass on your business to your children or grandchildren, how to unlock the value of your business, how to do business succession planning, how to protect your key employees, things like that. Would you have any objection on being on one of my lists? Now, this is a free list, guys. So oftentimes people don't reject free stuff, right? Now, I don't know if that person is going to read it or not, and it's completely okay if they don't. But again, I wanted to go ahead and at least offer something free to them. Remember, givers get or givers gain. So don't be afraid to give something first because we know you want something in return. For me, I wanted the information. Now, one of the things that New York Life had was these things called information cards, and I always kept one in my jacket pocket. So I would pull it out that time and say, listen, do you want to receive that newsletter here or at your home? Typically, they say, well, you can do it to my business. Great. Let me get your information down so I know who to address it to. On the back of that card, there were several of the hot buttons. It said life insurance, 529 plans, college planning, all things like that. It was probably 10 different things that maybe they wanted additional information on because, again, they don't know exactly what I'm going to mail them. So they would check a few boxes off. Now, again, if somebody checks a box on this sheet, I know there's something that just piqued their interest. So then I might transition and say, well, listen, do you have any questions on any of these things that you just checked right here? Or do you want me to just wait and just bring you some more information? Well, if they have time, I can have a conversation with them right now. Now I already booked an appointment, right? Or if they say, well, no, you can just bring me information. Awesome. Listen, I'm going to be back out in the area next week talking to some of the other business owners and dropping off some information to them. Do you mind if I pop by and I bring more stuff on this? And typically they'll say, well, yeah, that's not a problem. Because again, if they're busy this time, psychologically, I'm assuming they're probably going to be busy the same time next week. So I want to go ahead and book that appointment, right? You go back to your office, figure out whatever it is they wanted and bring them material based on that. And your aim is to get an appointment to sit down and build that relationship. Now, one of the things that you can use is called first research. Some of your companies might allow you to have it for free. I know New York Life did. If you're not independent now, I would have to pay for it. But first research is a tool that allows you to get a lot of information about businesses and industries. So let's say you wanted to deal with, I don't know, plumbers randomly. Okay. So you can go to First Research and type in plumbers, and it's going to give you an entire SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A lot of times these business owners might not know what the global or the regional outlook of their business is. They just know what they do on a day-to-day basis. But what it allows me to do is I can educate myself on their industry so I can bring more value to them. And then I can print off a little leave behind sheet. Now, this full report might be like 25 pages. I don't give them the full report. I can go in there and pick out a few things I want them to do and say, hey, listen, man, I was doing some research on your industry, or I'm an expert in this, in your industry. And, here's a few things that I came across. Are you familiar with any of this stuff? Is your business being affected by this? Well, what's your plan to make sure you're not getting hurt by this? Because if they don't have a plan, now you can become their plan. So use first research. Now, centers of influence and board of directors, centers of influence are people who might not necessarily be a client of yours, but they believe in you or your industry. Now, a lot of times your clients can be great centers of influence. Now, the idea behind centers of influence is you want them to be feeding you referrals, okay? But you need to give first. Maybe take them out to lunch or grab coffee with them, okay? You want to have a few centers of influence, okay? Maybe you want to have at least 12 or 13. So maybe one time a month, you take them to the coffee and say, hey, listen, I want you to just sit down and just have a conversation with you. I want to show you a few things that I'm doing in my practice. So that way, they know more about what you do. Because what you don't want to do is be pigeonholed to say, well, that's just my insurance guy. especially if you are a registered rep and you know you can do investments, okay? Now, again, one of the things I did from a senator's influence standpoint is I went around and I interviewed CPAs and attorneys. And I told them, hey, listen, I'm within my first 6 months in the business. I plan on having a lifelong career in this industry. And again, one of the things that I was told by my mentors is I needed to have a professional network of people that I can call on when I had questions or I had clients that needed something that I couldn't handle, like estate planning, like taxation, things like that. Can we develop a working relationship? And again, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say no, because we're thinking, yeah, okay, great. You're going to get some business from them. They're going to get some business from you. Now, oftentimes they've been approached by a lot of advisors, but your goal is to continue to build a relationship better than anybody else so they see you as a professional. When there's new concept pieces that come out, take them to lunch and sit down and show them some of those concept pieces, because you never know when you might be dealing with an attorney who says, you know what, we just got a new partner. Can we do this golden handcuff strategy for our firm? Sure you can. And now you become their trusted advisor. Okay. Now, another prospecting method, which I don't necessarily recommend unless you're just wired that way, is cold calling. It's high work, low reward. Typically, it takes 20 cold calls to get 1 appointment. Okay. Now, some people come in and they just know it's $100 a day, $100 a day. So they dial 100 numbers, win, lose, or draw. And at that ratio, they're going to book 5 appointments. Well, a referral is 3 to 1, meaning for every 3 referrals you get, you should book at least 1 appointment. So what happens when I have 15 referrals? I got 5 appointments. Okay. So think about that. Would you rather dial 100 names or numbers or 15? Okay. You're just working harder, well, smarter, not necessarily harder. And networking events. I call this one be a politician. And I never really looked at it that way until somebody asked me, man, are you a politician? I'm like, no. Like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I saw you work in a room. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So think about what happens when politicians are in a room. They're shaking hands and kissing babies. They're around introducing themselves to everybody. You're the insurance and financial services person. Everybody needs to know you. They need you more than you need them, which is kind of weird because, you get paid based on the policies that you sell. But again, one person represents 1/100th of your income. But the planning that you do for people represents 100% of their financial security. Who needs who more? You have to understand the value that you bring to the table, okay? Now let's talk about referrals. This is how I gained over 2,000 referrals in my first year of business alone. I'm not saying this to brag, but I had so many referrals, I couldn't call them all. I mean, I honestly couldn't. I probably should have just farmed them out to some of the newer agents, right? But here's how I did it. I was taught this method called circle talk very early in my career, and I mastered it. Again, if it's not broke, why fix it? And here's what happens when I teach stuff like this. People get excited and they use it and it starts working, and it works so good that we quit. And then I'll follow up with them like, how's that referral script going? Oh man, it was working good for a while, and then I stopped using it and it stopped working. Well, duh, that's a clue. Use it. It works, trust me, okay? So here's how it works. If I'm sitting down, now typically my appointment process is kind of changed over the time frame. I used to do what's called a financial needs analysis, or I would do a financial needs analysis. It was like 13 slides, and it kind of warmed somebody into the idea of working with an advisor. And I kind of took them through a practice that we were going to go through. Purpose, process, payoff. The purpose of us is to get together today. The process is I'll be asking you questions. The payoff is I know if I can help you, that kind of a thing. So I would spend about maybe 15 minutes or so going through those slides, building rapport and value. Then I was basically boosting up my credibility to take them through a fact finder. Because remember, not everybody that you sit down with was going to want to go through a fact finder. But if I've done a really good financial needs analysis, they see the value of going forward to the next process. So then I take them through the fact finder. And in the middle of my fact finder was a blank page. So at the end, I would turn to Zach and say, hey, Zach, this is the last important part of the process. It actually helps me to continue to grow my practice. Now, Zach, I like to deal with a list of names. Throughout the course of your life, you're going to meet people in 4 basic places. You got people you work with, you got your friends, you got your family, and you got people you might go to church with or you do your leisure activity. So when I say work, who are the first 4 people that comes to mind? And I would write down work, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the secret sauce. Anytime you write something down, especially when there's numbers and your clients see you doing this, instinctively, they know they need to give you something, okay? Now, I've given them value because I've sat down with them. And again, call it cocky or arrogant, whatever you want to, but I feel like when I'm sitting down with anybody, they are getting value because my goal is to challenge their thought process about what they're doing, compliment them on the things they've done well, but to build myself as a credible agent to make them want to do business with me. People got to know, like, and trust you, right? That's when they'll do business with you. So how do they get to know me? Through my financial needs analysis process. Okay. How do they like me? Because again, I like to bring a lot of energy. I like to, make them feel good and warm and inviting to give me information. And again, why do they trust me? Number one, I either have a company that's backing me that's really strong, or I have the credentials. Okay. So when I first came in, New York Life was the big company. I talked about the strength of New York Life. As an independent agent, I don't have to talk about the strength of New York Life. I don't represent them anymore. I represent a lot of companies, but I talk about the things that I've been able to do in the industry to build the credibility. I'm one of the top 100 in finance. That says a lot. There's a lot of advisors out there. So Jeff, how do you get to be in the top 100, right? So again, I don't have to go through all the kind of stuff. I can just let them know. And plus I do a lot of stuff on social media. So people, my name is kind of out there. So here's the psychology on the circle talk. I said, guys, this is the last important part of the process. Last, meaning we're coming to a close. Because again, if you've been in there for about an hour, it's about that time that you might want to start to wrap this up unless they're just really engaged and they understand the level of planning. It's important. When you tell somebody it's important, now they want to listen and make sure. So think about anytime somebody's giving you advice and say, hey guys, listen, remember this. When they say remember something, what do you want to do? Remember it. Well, it's important, right? Now, here's how you can help me. I like to deal with a list of names because again, ideally, if they help me, I get to stay in business. You've probably heard people say, yeah, man, I've had 4 or 5 advisors before and they never last. Are you going to be one of the people that stick it out there and last? Well, yeah, one of the ways you can do that, man, is just keep sending people my way. So you're showing them how they can take part in the growth of your business, okay? Because again, you want to be the trusted advisor in their entire circle, right? So think about that. Those are the 4 areas. So if I just came down and I said, hey, Greg, listen, man, can you give me 16 names? You're going to look at me like, what? 16? I don't know 16 people that need to buy insurance. I didn't ask for 16 people to buy insurance. I asked for 16 names, right? But if you just ask for 16 names, you're probably not going to get that many because they're trying to rack their brain on 16 people they know you can call. But when you ask for 4 names in 4 categories, that adds up to 16. So think about that. That alone would change your referral process. When you say, when I say work, who are the first 4 people to come to mind? And if somebody can't think of somebody, play a little game with them. All right, listen, Cheryl, if I gave you $100 and said, take 4 people out to lunch, who would you go with? And I have my pen ready and I'm looking at them. You've been taught when you close, you have to close by applying silence after you ask a question. This works the exact same way. When I ask for that first group of people, I apply silence and I just look at them. And the first person that speaks loses. It still works, okay? My goal is to get paid every single time I meet with somebody. The first time I meet with them, I'm typically not writing an app, okay? Unless I've gotten them through one of my social media things and they know what they're coming to me for, okay? But I get paid through referrals. When you learn how to do the math on your referrals, you'll understand the value of them. Like a referral to me might be $52. That means for every referral I get, I'm making $52. Now, nobody's handing me a check for $52, but when you look at the averages in terms of how many referrals I get versus how much I make, a referral might be $52 for me. So how many referrals do you want to get? Okay, phone calls work the exact same way. How many dials do you have to make to finally make a sale? And now you can backdate the numbers. So for every dial that you make, it might be worth $17. So if somebody's making $100 a day at $17, it's pretty penny, right? That's why people don't mind going through the phones that much. Okay. Now, once I say work 1, 2, 3, 4, I might say, Sheila, listen, now keep in mind, I like to deal with people who love their family, people who have children, people who own their own homes. And if I'm in a really good income household, I want to prospect up, right? Let's say Sheila's in a household where she makes $100,000. Okay, great. That might be my minimum. Sheila, like, I want to work with people like you guys that have that nice household income between 100 and 200,000. Because typically people who have money run with other people who have money. But my goal is to prospect up that list of people. Okay, so once I've gone through and gotten all those names, I go back and I qualify the names and say, okay, listen. So you said John at work. Is John single or married? Does he have children? If so, how many? Does he own or rent? What does John do? Okay, because again, from a title standpoint, oh, John's the janitor. Hey, listen, remember, I want to work with people who And don't be afraid to mark out those, because you're training people to give you what you want. Okay. Now, again, if you're new in the business, maybe you just need a few sales. I get it. You got to write enough business to learn the business to stay in business. Okay. So get what you can, but always focus on prospecting up. Now, some people are really generous with name flow, and I'll even make a gain out of it. After I've gotten 16 names, if they're still excited about giving me more, I say, listen, this is the bonus round. Who do you look up to for their financial accomplishments? And I might get 6 more names. I've gotten as many as 32 names in one household before. Okay, it works. Just get used to it. And I know I covered a lot, but go back and listen to the replay of this. Now I'm going to go faster to the next stuff because I'm running out of time. But networking events, use this acronym FORM. This thing works like a charm. Okay. Now, when you first enter a room, it's kind of weird because you don't know who is who. You don't know who to talk to, what to say. Find a way to compliment somebody. Hey, Sheila, that's an awesome blazer you have, man. Where do you shop at? Okay. Oh, I like those shoes. Listen, my girlfriend, wife, or whatever was just looking for a pair kind of like that. Where'd you get those from? Whatever the case may be, find a way to compliment somebody because that helps you break the ice. Once that ice is broken, remember this acronym, FORM. It stands for family, occupation, recreation, money, or message. So, hey, Greg, listen, man, where are you from? Are you from around here? You got family around these parts? Okay, great. Awesome. Well, what do you do? Because, again, I'm trying to build information around what do I know about Greg. Then what kind of stuff do you do for fun? Oh, you a golfer? Man, I golf too. What's your handicap? Well, we can get around together sometime soon. Will you be open to that? Yeah, I love to play golf. All right, awesome. Now I just know I got about 3 hours or so with Greg. If we suck at golf, it might be more like 7 hours. But again, now I have time that I can go out and I can build more rapport with him. And eventually the money or message, hey, listen, man, I don't know if you have an advisor that you work with, but I'd love to have a file in my a file on my desk with your name on it or something like that. Now, Van Mueller likes to ask a question. You close with questions and you can open with questions. So he might say, well, listen, man, before I step away, Greg, let me ask you a question, man. Do you think taxes are going to be higher in the future? Yes or no? Oh, yeah. Well, do you think they can be a lot higher? Yeah, probably. Let me ask you a weird, crazy question, Greg. Do you want to pay them? Well, no, of course not. Well, what's your strategy to make sure you're not getting killed on taxes in retirement, Greg? Well, I don't have one. Well, listen, man, if I can get about 15 minutes of your time and there was no cost obligation, can I just ask you a couple more questions to help you kind of, get your thinking in the right place around this stuff? Oh, yeah, okay, great. Now I have an appointment. That's the money or message part. What's motivating them to want to sit down with you? Because when they feel like you got something that can help them out, then they're open to learning, right? So again, just practice that kind of stuff. Practice it a lot and make it conversational. I didn't get good at doing this stuff overnight, okay? I just went out there and I stumbled through it and I made a couple of mistakes. But as long as I understand my framework, it's a lot easier for me to go through it, okay? Now, again, one of the most important things that you guys can be doing right now, and I know some of you guys might be captive, and when you're a captive agent, your companies kind of limit how much stuff you can do online. But again, get used to putting regular content out there. Lifehappens.org is one of those websites that you can get. Go to Life Happens Pro. Through your NAFA membership, I think they're still offering discounts. I started this relationship again with them back in December. And within the first 2 weeks of using an automated campaign, I set it up one time and it kept going out. A lady reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, listen, I need some insurance on me and my son. That more than paid for not only the 4-year cost of Life Happens, but it also paid for my NAFA membership within the first 2 weeks. Anything over that now is pure profit. And you know what she does? She's a 401k advisor. So people with 401ks probably need some more life insurance. Now I can create another relationship right there by a client and turn her into a center of influence. And she's in Texas. So I'm licensed in a lot of states. I recently did a little write-up with NAFA about how I use technology. I use Zoom a lot in my practice, okay? I office from home. You don't necessarily have to have a fancy office building. Again, you can just have your home set up. I mean, I'm by a bookshelf. Smart people read books. Great. Okay, I read a ton of books. I'm going to recommend some to you in just a second. But again, think about your online presence like the new gold rush. Back in 2000, when everybody was going through the .com crazy phase, everybody was creating .coms to give themselves credibility. Well, you can start using social media to gain credibility. Start talking about some of the concepts that you do. Start talking about the importance of planning. If you read an article about something, Again, typically you don't have to have articles that are online, approved by compliance. It's third-party stuff. Well, just go online and talk about that article. Maybe highlight some of the few points in it and say, hey, listen, guys, click the link in my bio or send me an email and I'll forward this article over to you so you can read it yourself. Okay. Think about what that does for your credibility when you're able to break something down and make it more palatable to people, right? Okay. Now, when you play in the online field, you have to make it cyclical. And what I mean by that is when you meet people online, you need to take that conversation offline as fast as possible. So for example, when I get a new LinkedIn client, or LinkedIn contact, I immediately send them a message. Hey, I appreciate the ad. I might say something like, how's the work-life balance for you these days? I want to break the ice. Man, it sucks, man. I've been working a lot. Oh man, tell me more about that. What would have to change for you to do that? Oh man, listen, I started taking more vacations because again, I felt the same way. Hey, maybe we can grab a cup of coffee soon. I want to learn more about what you do. But I can also read their LinkedIn profile to see what kind of information that I need to learn about them. But I can also take that and go back to first research and learn more about their industry so I can have a more educated conversation to them about what they do, what's important to them. Okay. Now, again, if I meet somebody in a networking event face-to-face, I need to take that conversation online. I want to plug them into my social media profile so they see constant information if they're following me. And it's not like I'm spamming them because you know how social media works. Stuff just pops up in your news feed. Well, if I'm pushing great content out there or if I'm letting Life Happens do that, those are touch points. But all I'm doing is building more credibility and visibility with them because we know online it takes 7 touches sometimes before people make buying decisions. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, listen, man, I've been meaning to call you. I've been seeing your content. And they finally got around to calling me. Okay, get to the point where you can automate a lot of this stuff and just let it breathe for you. Think about the bloodline. The heart just moves. You don't have to tell the heart to pump blood. Think about that. So you need to create an automated prospecting machine that's always going to be at work with you 24/7. Okay. Now, a few books to read. Take a picture of this if you need to. If you don't have time to write this down, because I know I'm getting ready to close out. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay. The first 2 books are going to allow you to gain more attraction power as a person. Okay. You want to be more than just an interesting conversationalist. That helps because you can walk into any crowd of people and be social, but you also want to gain credibility with them. Okay. Sell the Problem and Prospecting Made Easy by Robert Cromwell. He's a guy who designed the e-relationships platform. And that's a platform that you can load all your CRM people into, your client relationship manager, and it can send them storyboards and ongoing drip campaigns. Okay. And that stuff is done. I think there is a discount for your NAFA membership. Again, another plug for being a part of NAFA. Be the Believer First. Okay. Again, some of these books, you know where I bought them? I bought them when I was attending a NAFA conference. Because when they bring these people in to teach us, I want to buy their books. Because every time I buy a book, I don't care if I got one idea out of it. That one idea is going to more than pay for a $20 book or whatever the cost was. Trust me, that is proven. Every conference that I've been to, if I got one idea from that conference, it's paid for that conference many times over. I learned this stuff early in the business, and 10 years in, I still do it because it works. Be Obsessed or Be Average. This is Grant Cardone, okay? If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, the moment you buy one of his books, you're going to know him. He's aggressive, but this guy has done so much in life, just in sales and marketing and real estate and things like that. But that's a really good book, just telling you got to step your game up. There's another book that he has called 10X, How to 10X Your Life, how to make 10X more income, okay? He's going to teach you a psychology behind learning how to do 10 times more than what you're already doing. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, I got time for maybe like one question because I have a 12:05 appointment across town, so I'm gonna have to speed to get there. But if we have some questions, I'll take those right now. If not, that's my contact information. You can follow me on social media. Take a picture of that if you need to. Reach out to me, text me. Again, I'm open, guys, so I don't mind giving back to Nathan because, again, I have people who paved the way for me, and they gave me a lot of stuff in my career. And again, my goal is to give it back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And if I know you got to run, so if anyone does have any questions and they can't think of them right now, and they do want to reach out to Jeff or even myself at recruitment@nafa.org, please feel free.
Yes. Oh, and last thing, get involved in your community. get involved in organizations, find a way to volunteer for some stuff. Just get your face out there, okay? Don't try to be a person who just builds this business staying put in your office. Get into the community so people can see you. Make them figure out who you are. It's fun. It is absolutely fun.
All right, well, if there are no questions, Jeff, I appreciate your time and your presentation. Great as always. For everybody who joined us, thank you. We'll hope everyone has a great rest of their week.
There, I couldn't find the unmute button. I see in your picture you're standing there in front of Toastmasters. What do you think about Toastmasters? I'm thinking about joining that. I'm brand new to NAFA. I joined NAFA last month.
Okay, awesome. Congratulations on that, man. I love Toastmasters. Toastmasters, outside of NAFA, pound for pound is one of the best investments you can make because it's investing in yourself. I'm a part of 3 different clubs. I'm a club coach for one of those, and I'm on the board of directors of the other 2. So again, I'm not just a person that's going to be in the room. I want to be a part of the growth. And I'm a competitive speaker, and I've won a lot of competitions and awards in Toastmasters because of my speaking ability. But again, there's a lot of stuff that I learned from that organization that's allowed me to take into my practice. So again, one of the things I want that I'm rolling into is doing more seminars, whether it be online or in person. And Toastmasters helps you with that stage presence. It helps you alleviate the ums and filler words and things like that, so people can actually follow you better. Because if you've ever heard some people speak and is every other thing they say, it can get really distracting. And Toastmasters will hunt you because, again, there's a job in there called eye counter where you're counting there. You're ringing the bell every time it happens, and it's training your ear to listen for it. So when you go hear other people speak, you're like, oh, my good gosh, how are you on stage speaking? So I love it, man. Greg, I swear it is one of the – it averages out to be about $10 a month. Okay, my club, one of them meets – or 2 of them I'm part of, they meet every single week. That's what I'm getting ready to go do now. I have a speech to give at the club that I'm a club coach for. And again, one of my clubs meets once a month, and it's a 2-hour meeting because you can do a 30 or hour-long presentation if you want to at that one. So again, I did that so I can build up that the speaking stamina, if you will, to go for 30 minutes or an hour in front of a crowd. Because I can talk all day long like that, but again, it's different when you have to command that stage presence and make it engaging enough to hold your audience for that long.
I love one-on-ones, but let me think, next month, I guess, I have to give a talk to about 100 teachers.
Yeah.
It's a group I have that, anyway, and it's.
Toastmasters is going to help you a lot, man. And send me an email. I can send you a few resources that can kind of help you plan for it now. Some of our old competent communicator manuals. We're using a new system called Pathways now. That's a little bit different. But again, I can send you some resources that can help even before you actually join your club. But you'll gain a lot of resources and value from your club for sure.
Thank you.
No problem. Did anybody else have any questions at all? Okay, awesome. I appreciate it. Zach, thank you for the invite. Everybody have a great and phenomenal day, and happy prospecting.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Awesome presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.